So great to meet you again, Alan. It's been a while.
Yeah.
From Advisory AI. I'm quite intrigued by how things are moving along when it comes to the world of AI, because when we first spoke, we were kind of talking about where we saw AI going, advisors' attitudes to it, a little bit about yourself. And that, I think that'd be a good place to start for those that have not met you. We've had about another 1,000 advisors join our community since we last caught up. Now you're kind of one of the few, maybe the only AI provider that's actually had your hands dirty in the world of financial advice and financial planning. Tell us a bit about your story, and what was the itch that you were trying to scratch when you decided to do something about it?
Okay, gotcha. Great line of questioning. I'll try to make this really quick because I'm sure people are really excited to see about the product as opposed to just me. So I started as a power planner, then a financial advisor, and then I started my own financial advising firm. But I thought I found a secret, Phil. I thought I thought I found a secret, and the secret was, so my surname's Gurung, and I've got a big old family. Gurungs love to make kids. And I thought, I've got a secret. Tell you what my go-to-market strategy is going to be. My marketing strategy will be getting all of my family as clients when I start my advising firm.
That's a good start.
And so before I knew it, about 7 months in, I had 80 Gurungs as clients. 7 months, 80 clients. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've cracked the code, right? I thought I'm doing really well. But I found soon enough that the average income per Gurung household was something like £60,000, which is not small money, but it's not large enough in order to really run a profitable advising firm. And I came across this really horrible realization that I had to have this really uncomfortable conversation with some of my family members and tell them, you're not making enough money.
Yeah.
And you know, I laugh about it now, but it was so traumatic then that I thought, okay, this really feels unpleasant, but why is it that I can't do that? And the main reason why is because what we do as advisors and advising firms is so personalized that in order for you to scale that personalization, it's extremely difficult. And so I thought, okay, why don't I work on that? I think that is a much bigger problem than what I'm currently doing in my wealth management firm. And so I closed up shop from my wealth management company to start up Advisory AI. And now about 2.5, 3 years later, now work with about 400 advising firms across the country, thousands of advisors, power planners, and compliance officers. So that's a little bit of a part of the story.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We find ourselves now moving on from where we were a few months ago. I'm picking up, rightly or wrongly, in our community, a certain amount of AI fatigue amongst advisors. And then I saw your post on LinkedIn, where I think you were at the Advisor 3.0 conference, and you couldn't move for AI providers. And I think it's great that there are so many entrepreneurial firms getting into this space, because it's clearly huge opportunity. But that AI fatigue is a bit like, okay, we've got so many providers now and suppliers. Many of them seem to do the same thing. I know you guys are different. And this, I think to some extent, I wouldn't say it's putting advisors off, but there's just rumblings. I can't quite put my finger on it. How do you kind of respond to that?
I think it's so hard. I think if you run an advising firm and you're trying to find an AI provider right now, it's this paradox of choice. There's so much choice out there that you somewhat become like frozen in time trying to decide who to end up working with. I completely agree. I was somewhat resonating with some of the advisors that we were speaking with, going, how do you decide? And I was talking about this with the team, and we're thinking perhaps in hindsight, maybe there's 3 things to think about. And first is, it should always be problems orientated as opposed to solutions orientated. AI is fantastic, but it doesn't solve every problem. And so I'll start with a problem or a challenge within your company that's being a bottleneck to achieving your goals, and then saying, okay, is AI the best thing for that challenge? The second thing being, it should absolutely be integrated with your current ecosystem. If it's not integrated with a tech stack that you already use on a day-by-day basis, it just becomes another tech tool on top of everything else.
Something else to log into.
It's spot on, and it just becomes so much work. And the third thing we found, we were really mulling over this for the longest amount of time. The third thing we found really early on, mind you, we made loads of mistakes starting this company when we first started out, and we continue to make them because we continue to try and push innovation. And one of the biggest faults that we found early on was, initially we only had a AI model for advisors. The challenge with that is advisors can start becoming a lot more efficient, but that now starts to create bottlenecks in other aspects of the company: power planning, compliance, administration. And so what you should think about when you're selecting your AI provider, if I end up utilizing this tool, is it just going to move the problem that I have right now to another area of the business? Is it actually going to solve the problem? And so those are the three things that I would strongly recommend for any firm when they're thinking about which AI provider to work with, to think about those three things. And the AI provider should work with them to see whether they are a match towards that or not.
Yeah. I'm still seeing the most common question that I'm seeing from advisors, and this comes up like day after day after day: which tool are other advisors using for this particular task? And I get that. Is there a faster way of doing something that I've been doing for years and years, and there's got to be a better way, and I've heard of this AI thing? I'm not sure that's the right question. Which tool should I use for XYZ?
Yeah, I resonate with that highly. Yeah, it's almost like if you're going to go ahead and select a smartphone, you're not going to say what is the best smartphone specifically for playing this one app or this one application, right? Because it does so much more than that. And there's a whole breadth. When you're picking a smartphone, you're selecting from multiple different fundamental things that could really change how you run your business. And so looking at it from such a small lens is just a tip of the iceberg.
So what do you think a better question would be? If you take the financial advice world, what's the question they really ought to be addressing or should be asking?
I personally think, and by no means do I think this is the one right answer. I don't think there's a silver bullet to this, but I think what's a really helpful place to start is going, okay, this is our goal for myself as an advisor, or the goal for the business for this year. And what is the biggest thing that ends up limiting us from achieving that? Whatever that is, I would consider that the challenge, the bottleneck, the problem, if you will, and to see whether there are AI applications that end up working around this point to ensure you end up getting to that objective. I would say that is by far the easiest way. And so what we end up doing, at least from Advisory AI's perspective, with a lot of the firms that we work with, go, okay, what is the objective for your business? And what's either in our roadmap right now to help you achieve to get there, or what is already on the platform to allow you to get there? And if it's not there, that's okay. You don't have to use AI right now if you don't want to, right? There's many incredible tech stack out there that could help you solve those problems. But AI is obviously something that's very exciting, something that's really changing how we work. And so, which is why people tend to rush towards that.
So there is a bit of a vibe that like AI
a little bit.
It's compulsory. You have to use it. It's like when social media first appeared, there was a kind of vibe that said, oh, you have to use social media. It's compulsory. No, it isn't. Useful if you know where you're going, what's your goal. So when it comes to AI, maybe they should be thinking, okay, where's my business going? And then reverse engineer it and take it from there.
And just to add on to that, Phil, apologies because I'm cutting you off, but it's exactly the same way how we run it from our side. We use loads of forms of AI in our day-to-day, but it's the same way with us. What is our goal for this year? What is our goal for the next 3 years, 5 years? And what do we think are the best AI applications to go ahead and get to that place?
So
now,
go for it.
I was going to say the biggest challenge to this is everything is improving continuously. Like the average timeline for an AI model at the moment comes 3 months before it becomes expired. So then you go, oh my gosh, which is crazy, right? And you go, oh my gosh, I've used this AI firm for 3 months, but there's another firm that just launched something else. What I would suggest is have a conversation with the team. What is their support levels like? Where's their vision for the future? Do you enjoy working with them? Do they listen to what you're saying? I think these are all fundamental aspects of picking an AI provider for the longer term, as opposed to one that you stick with 3 months and then you go to another one in 3 months' time. Then you don't get that compounding impact over that series of months and years that you could have when working with someone.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I guess your guys are doing that in your business. I'd probably ask this at the end, but where do you see your business in 2 to 5 years? How different do you think it will be?
Oh my gosh, like, give us a couple of hours and a beer, Phil, and I'll tell you all about this. I think it's going to be so different. I think the biggest change, and we've just started implementing this within advisory AI. We spoke last time around where AI is now, which is reactive. You have to go on the platform, tell it what to do, and it goes and gives you an answer. I think we are now from where we were 8 months ago, is I believe we're now in the proactive part. And I can show you that. In a moment.
Up to, yeah.
But I think we're there now, at least in the first stage of proactivity. It's really exciting. But ultimately, what that means is, what if the models could think for itself based on what you've asked it to do? For example, what if you, as an advising firm, continues to think, tell you what, my goal for this year is to do 2 million in revenue based on my current client bank. And what if the models there could go, actually, I'm going to challenge you on that point based on all the opportunities that you have. I think you could bring in 4 million in revenue based on how much you charge. And here's exactly how I do it.
Yeah,
I think that's a level of data analysis that we've just never had the opportunity to do before. It's going to be super exciting to see how firms react to it. But yeah, I think it's the proactivity piece that's going to have the biggest impact going forward.
Yeah, I'm so glad you say that. It's bit of my little hobby horse about all this, is that yes, we can create huge efficiencies in a strategic way within our back office, all good stuff. But when AI first appeared, my instinct was to think, hold on, this is quite exciting because it enables us to potentially build completely new business models as financial advisors, albeit that run alongside, even as a side hustle, which can be built rapidly, scaled rapidly, and all done at almost zero cost. I think of the advice gap, so called,
Yep.
and I mean I've just been kicking around so many different ideas as to how advisors can get into that market, and we can do it this afternoon. But I am now seeing a bit more proactivity and entrepreneurialism from some advisors. I know a couple of guys, one of which has created a new tool, which I can't really say what it is, that is something completely new that the world of financial advice and financial planning has not seen before. And when he shows people what he's created, and I think he did it with Replit or something like that. And he shows people what he's done. They're going, I want that now. I mean, so there are one or two that are getting very entrepreneurial, right on top of this, and that's really exciting to see.
I think it's amazing, and those who end up really putting their getting the hands on it, getting the hands dirty to really understand this and the implication, the impact of what this could be, they're going to be the winners. Yeah. I would say not only is it proactivity, the second element that I would add is context. It's something that we forget a lot, but pretty much the biggest difference between a power planner who does amazingly in your company to a power planner who is just starting out on day one, doesn't know anything about the company, the biggest difference between those two individuals largely is context. Context of what to do, context of how you like things being done, context of how to speak to clients, and so forth. And so the question then becomes, AI supposedly is one of the smartest power planner financial advisors out there. But the biggest drawback to this is every single day when you go to any of your AI models, it's like you're speaking to a really smart financial advisor with dementia, right? It's forgetting all your context. And so the question becomes then, how can you ensure that AI model has all the context around how you like to run your business and all your clients' data sets? And so that's a future that we're working really hard on. And how can we integrate with your entire tech stack? So now you have one area that has context to everything and what you do. And so hopefully it should be the smartest power planner, the smartest financial advisor who's a thinking buddy with you in getting to that goal that you want to get to.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get to the nuts and bolts of it. How do you guys differentiate yourself from, let's face it, the wealth of other AI providers that are out there? Basically, what's the key thing? If you've got 30 seconds, feel free to take longer, but 30 seconds to tell a skeptical advisor about AI and your proposition, what would you be saying to them?
So you know what? I think starting off skeptical is awesome. Let us prove you wrong. So the main thing that differentiates us is largely two areas. One is we've built an ecosystem within advisory AI for multiple different roles within an advising company, for financial advisors, power planners, compliance officers, and also administrators. So all of these roles have specific aspects that they can utilize within advisory AI. That is one. The second is we've now built an ecosystem that is connected to all of your data sets. So for example, we're integrated with CRM systems, cash flow modeling. We're about to integrate with platforms now where you hold your funds and investments, and also data centers like FE Analytics and Mabel Insights. What that means then is, as opposed to you have to go to 4, 5, 6 different tabs over and over and try to get all your data sets, what you can now do is simply go to Advisory AI and ask any questions you might want, and we can go ahead and give you that answer or complete a workflow. We're the only company in the entire AI space that can do both of those two things.
That's really interesting, because when it comes to financial advice tech and their tech stack, the biggest complaint advisors have made over the years is that they have to log into this, log into this, log into this. And are you suggesting we're now reaching a point where it all can come together in one place, powered by you guys?
Yes, that's our ambition, and we're getting there as close as it possibly can. Like, I'll give you an example of a few limitations we have. So, for example, we integrate with CRMs. We integrate with all the CRMs in the UK sphere, though there's limitations that CRM may provide. Like, for example, IntelliFlow will only allow us to connect with 120 fields. So we'll do the maximum amount we can. And so we'll do the maximum amount we can, and we can obtain that much data. So we'll have pretty much 80% or 90% of all data you require. At any point in which you ask a question that we don't have data to, we'll say, this is an area that we don't have data to, you'll have to go to IntelliFlow for it. But the hope is still, over time, we'll start to expand, increase upon that, and at least 90% of all the things that you'd ever ask for would still be answered within the platform. But yes, a single source of truth, or as close as we can get.
Right. So that's the ambition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous. Anything you'd like to show me by way of the actual tech and how it works? Anything you'd like to demonstrate?
Sure. Well, I can show you a quick bit, because I don't want to go on to like just this being a tech demo.
So I don't mind, because the more advisors can see inside different suppliers' solutions, it's interesting. Quite often it comes down to look and feel as much as what it actually does as well. One firm will just feel better and more useful.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, tell you what, let me go ahead and share my screen, and let me know if you can see this okay on your side.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that I personally love about the platform. So this is a chat interface that you can now communicate with anything and for it to do anything for you. I know what you're thinking. I'm sure you're going, okay, what do you mean here, Alan? Let's give this a go. For example, I'll go to-do list. So you can train this model. We call this model Atlas. But essentially what Atlas is doing is, I've set it to create me a to-do list. And what it's doing now is going through my entire client base, cross-referencing via my CRM system, all the data we've ever stored within Advisory AI. And it's going, hey, I've now centered these from high, medium, and low for all those that are really important to those that are not very important right now. And the thing is, this is how I've based importance, but you could base importance in a different way. That's absolutely up to you. Now, I might go here and go ahead with Sarah. And from this, again, what Alice is now doing is, okay, it's pretty cool. So it tells you exactly how it's thinking, what it's thinking about, and it's thinking, great, I want to go ahead with Sarah. You told me to give you some more information about this individual. I'm going to cross-reference this with the CRM and any other areas that I might have data. Now, this is pretty much an overview of the specific individual, but you can see how you don't need to go anywhere now. Every data point that you might need, you can go ahead and have right in your fingertips here.
Yeah.
And I remember, Phil, we were talking about, well, the proactivity piece. How can we get this to be proactive? And this is where Atlas can start going, want me to send a review invitation for your booking link? Yes. Because at the moment, when we talk about AI providers, where are they helping you right now? They're pretty much always helping you after the meeting you've had with the client. But the work doesn't start after the meeting. The work starts way before then when you try to figure out who do I end up meeting right now? And why do I meet them? What should I think about in that meeting? What about the email that I send out? So it can draft you an email. Again, it's going to review all the meetings that you've had with this individual in the past. So you can, here's a good example. So it says things like, I imagine Sophie's wrapping up her first day in Leeds by now. That must have flown by. So it's adding in the source facts, and you can always edit this and amend it how you'd like to. Add in the calendar link, and you can just go ahead and send this from here.
Yeah.
But what this is just doing now is it's ensuring that it's going to continue going through the entire workflow of how you run your company, so that you don't have to continually have to chase it over and over and say, this is what I want you to do, this is what I want you to do. It will automatically figure this out for itself. And so what I'll just do here is I'll go to the whole end-to-end process. What it's just doing now is it's in this mock example that I've got for you, it's presuming that Sarah is now booked into your calendar, and it can recognize that and say, hey, this is the meeting pack that you should have in advance of the meeting that you're going to have. So you can, like, hey, great, thanks. And so what it's essentially doing now is giving you a whole sense of information here that you can be ready for before you even have to tell it what to do. Now, all you have to do from your side is go, well, how do you run your business? What are those things that you do consistently every single day? And right. Atlas will just learn that and automatically start to do that for you going forward.
I was going to ask, how's the setup process look? When someone comes on board today with a client bank, how does it all get in here?
Yeah, super easy. You just go ahead and click workflow mode, and then you just describe exactly what your workflow is, and it can go ahead and create that. I'll show you that just in a moment. But what I'll do, I'll complete this flow, and I'll just say something along the lines of, I just finished my meeting with Sarah. And all it's doing here is now it's going through the most recent recording that you've had with Sarah, and we can conduct things such as meeting notes. We can sit on that meeting and record that and transcribe that for you. It can even update your CRM and populate those fields as well.
Okay.
But what it's doing is a step beyond that, and it's really interesting. So let's say in that meeting, you talked about a recommendation that you're going to do. What it can figure out is say, you talked about a recommendation in that meeting. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, ISO transfer for 20K from NSNI. So cool. So it's saying, here's all the things that I could do for you going forward, and this is what I recommend. And from this, you can just go ahead and say, draft that document. You can upload any documents here that might be helpful for Atlas to review, or Atlas in this section can go ahead and take that information from any of the areas that we're already integrated with. And so what you see here is we've now started all the way from knowing which clients to meet, creating a overall deck so you can review that, sending across an email, having that individual booked, creating the pre-meeting pack, creating the meeting note, and then creating a suitability letter thereafter. The great part about this is you might end up thinking, well, okay, what's next in this process? And for an advising firm, that might be compliance. And so this is what I mean when I told you earlier, Philip, around advisors, support staff, compliance. Every single aspect is within one flow. And the great part is, depending on your role in the company, you get notified if something is there for you to be reviewed. So for example, this is what we've got here: capacity for loss and quantities universe expenditure. And then our compliance model will say, this is the areas that you should really be thinking about. And what it can do is essentially review that for you and figure out, actually, those are the things that needs to be changed, and I'm going to go ahead and do that for you. Now, if you think about an average advising firm right now, to go through this entire process would take hours. We've just now done it. Yeah, we're now going through the whole process in a matter of minutes. I know I'm speeding things up because people will have to review this. If compliance is now done and it's all clear and someone's given it the thumbs up, the AI model and the human in the loop, what Alice can now do is draft the email attaching the suitability letter that was just created, and you can now go ahead and send this to the client all from one area now. And you can see from here, we're not going anywhere. Nothing's being changed. We're not going to any other different platform. If it's got any questions or Atlas has any questions, it will ask you here, meaning you can now do everything in one interface. It just makes life so much easier. And then if it's all finished, you'll go thanks, and it should go ahead and give you next steps. Who can we do next? Which individual should I book in thereafter?
Sorry to interrupt, who do you see use it, or who is using this mostly within an advisory practice? Is it the advisor or is it an ops manager?
So it's really interesting you asked that question. We were thinking it's going to be advisors. But in actuality, advisors use it a tremendous amount because you can ask so many questions, such as, what were some things that I missed in our last call with this client that I should definitely talk about in this call, and things of that nature. Whereas who we found can take this by storm is people who are in operations, power planners, administrators. Because what we find is when an advisor gives a support staff or a power planner, can you write this suitability letter for me? There might be a lot of information missing. Now, what would a power planner normally do? They'll normally go ahead and to that advisor and say, hey, what's this information? Can you elaborate on this further? Can you tell me more about this? But now the power planner can just go here and say, actually, let me just ask Atlas. Atlas can go to that transcript conversation and give me that data instead. And that's more likely going to be more accurate because it has actual recordings saved. Yeah. And so it just allows for the interactivity. Last point here, Phil, because you asked that question on workflows. Let me just do this. Create me a workflow, and I've got one ready here. So you can just be like, when a client turns 55, pull their pension data, assign a review, and notify me. Pretty simple. Now, what Alice will go ahead and do. Sorry. Oh, cool. Yeah, there we go. So what Alice will do now is go, great, I'm going to go ahead and create this entire workflow based on what you just said. And I'm just going to, this is what it looks like from our end. And you just go, great, this all looks good, create workflow. And it will now start to automatically do this going forward. The awesome part about this is, what could this mean then? So obviously the first layer is create workflows for all the things that you normally do within a business. What is the things that you do every morning, every afternoon, every evening, or every week, every month? Absolutely, Alice can do. But what about those things outside of that? What if you could say, every month, I want you to find out the biggest concerns that all clients said in the entire business, and I want to create marketing material from that I send out to clients at the end of every month. How incredible would that be? What a personalized way to give back to your clients in a way we've never been able to before. That's just one example.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. That being able to interrogate the data is superb. In my little playing around with Claude's app making functionality, I found a way to discover how many opportunities advisors missed to talk about a referral opportunity in each meeting.
Sure. Yeah.
You can buy it off me if you want. It turned out that you run the we put some transcripts through it, and we found that it's 7.2 times per meeting and there was an opportunity to raise the discussion around referrals. Now, whether you actually do ask for a referral is down to different advisors. They've got different ways of doing it, but 7 opportunities per meeting being missed.
Crazy.
And you couldn't really do that before AI. Not really, unless you had someone sitting in your meeting with you.
It's so tough. Yeah.
I was chatting this morning with a paraplanning firm, and we were talking about the days when we couldn't really send documents online. It was like piles of paper that do this. And just looking at your demonstration there, it's chalk and cheese, the difference between that now, and the speed is astonishing. What you can do. So I would imagine, as most advisors tell me, that in an ideal they like to be out with the clients. Typically financial advisors are only limited by capacity when it comes to growing their businesses. And if a firm does want to grow, and I assume most of them do, tools like this are just going to help so much.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a, don't get me wrong, I think some of the biggest challenges that one can face when utilizing AI is to sound incredibly generic. And I think there's a right and a wrong way. I mean, firstly, who am I to say this, right? But I'm going to voice my opinion anyhow. I think there's a right and wrong way to utilize AI. There's so many AI providers out there that when you're trying to make yourself more efficient, inevitably what ends up happening is you become so scalable, you become so quick and fast, but you sound like everyone else. And I believe a USP for advising firms going forward is to figure out a way in how you can scale what you already do best, which is your own personality. It's your own tone of voice. How can you be uniquely yourself in the world of AI? And we're hoping with workflows it enables for you to be uniquely yourself, and you can scale that further. But again, it's something that advisors will have to work on. I strongly believe the advisors that figure this out, or the advising firms that figure this out, it is a moat, it is a USP, it is a way to differentiate yourself in this future of AI.
Yeah, interesting. We better just touch on, because it comes up quite a lot these days. Just tell me about the data, how it's stored. I think a lot of advisors are rightly very concerned about that. And just where's the data all going in your proposition?
Sure. All of our data is held internally within our AWS infrastructure. So that's Amazon Web Service. And it is all held locally within the UK. Our backup storage area is over in Ireland. So it's all within Great Britain. I think that's a really important place there. That's number one. I think that's the number one. Hear that. It's all stored within Great Britain in terms of our storage. And I think that's the number one thing to think about, just from a GDPR perspective, that the data is stored locally. And the second element that I would advise for firms to think about when picking a provider or a partner, AI partner, is what are the certifications they've gone through. Now, a lot of providers can say, I've done this for data, I've done this for data, but it's themselves saying it. Whereas if it's certification, then there's a third party who's come in, done the interrogation, and come out and said they've passed. And so certifications such as ICO, ISO, Cyber Essentials, pen testing, they're all vital. And so if any firms is interested further on that from an advisory perspective, we can provide them a due diligence document that answers all of that.
Fabulous. I'm just thinking that a lot of advisors say, they feel that AI takes away the human touch. And from what you've just shown me, I don't see that at all. In fact, if anything, the fact that you can chat with the data makes it kind of even more human, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to be able to do that, right? That's the future of AI. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a fine line here, Philip, right? I think some people are expanding and scaling themselves to such an extent where they're sounding incredibly generic. Here's something crazy. I know a lot of people who are on LinkedIn and they're using AI now to just generate all of their posts. And I heard someone say the other day that they've deliberately told their AI model to make a mistake in the spelling when posting on LinkedIn, just so they can come across more authentic. I was going, what on earth is going on here? And that is like the scary future, or the dystopian future, what could be. And so absolutely, you got to pick, you want to pick a supplier that can enhance your USP, enhance what already makes you very special and very good at your role.
Yeah. Just kind of starting to wrap up. I think you've given us quite a big clue already. Where do you see AI having the biggest impact on financial planning over the next 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I'm going to say one word, and that's context. I
Okay.
think context is going to have the biggest influence. And this is going to be a huge ordeal, not only from the AI providers, but for every other tech stack to be open to sharing the data. And that includes companies like CRMs who kind of limit the amount of data that you have access to. The reason why I say that's so important is we as an industry have been talking about the single source of truth for the longest time. Now, here's the thing. Tech stacks have already integrated in the past. Like, for example, Voyant integrates with Planner, right?
Yeah.
Now, the challenge of that is unstructured data, though. That passing of data is just an enormous amount of data that you still have to analyze and read from your side. That's been the past. We're now in the future where AI can go ahead and take unstructured data that is so vast and so much, and actually consolidate all that and can give you direct insights that you're looking for. And that is supremely advantageous. And
Yeah.
so all AI requires in order for it to do that and be so incredibly helpful is context. And so I think it is not a race of faster AI or more proficient AI. I really think the race is upon more context so that the AI can be better at its job.
Yeah, interesting. So we will inevitably have, we're going to put this in front of 12,000 advisors. We'll inevitably have a number of advisors who are quite intrigued. A, about AI in the first place, B, about what your proposition is. What would you say would be a sensible first step for them?
Sure. Again, not to sound like a broken record, you can actually do this with us. So I'd always say start with, what your objectives are for your business, what are the biggest bottlenecks for that, and can that AI provider do anything? Can we do anything? So I would suggest please do head over to our website at advisoryai.com and book in a demo with us, and all of our business development managers can do that with you. Understand what your goals are for your business and see how can we help towards that. If we can't, we'll try our best to guide you towards somewhere else or another provider that we think can help you on that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'd probably say that's the initial stage. We also provide a free trial, so all of this you can try out for free, and that's probably quite a low-hanging fruit. Yeah, love a free trial.
Yeah. That's absolutely fabulous. I've forgotten the last question I was going to ask you. What would you say that when advisors come on board with you guys in the early stages, is there anything that comes up to them that's quite surprising to them that they maybe weren't expecting about what this can do? I mean, I guess it's like any other bit of tech. After you've been trained on how to use it, you start thinking, oh, I can also use it for that, and I can also use it for that. Is there anything that you've noticed that catches them by surprise?
Yeah, I would say two things. One is we made a ton of mistakes when we first started out, largely because initially when we set up, we were giving the platform to advising firms and advisors and say, have at it and use it. But there's so many different configurations to utilizing AI that people found it really challenging to utilize or use and make the most out of. And so we learned from that. And so now we have more of an onboarding process where someone can hold your hand through getting on. The biggest surprise that firms are taken aback by is the speed of change. And I'll give you an example here, Philip. If someone's used a CRM in this industry for the past 10 years, there hasn't been a lot of change. It's stayed somewhat similar.
Yeah.
I would say, our platform changes so much on a 3-month basis. Firms come back to us going, by the way, I realize like we have so many more functionalities now. Do we need to pay more? And we've gone, no, you don't need to pay more. We've just upgraded. We've just gotten better. And firms have always been so surprised by that, by the speed of evolution that AI can now have, which is awesome. But that's definitely something that people have been really surprised by.
Fabulous. Alan, it's been really great. Great to catch up with you as well. I will catch up in person in town somewhere. In the meantime, so it's advisoryai.com.
That's it.
Fantastic. That's where they can find you. Really appreciate your help today. Thank you so much. And we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Thanks for having me, Philip. Cheers. Thanks, everyone. Okay, bye.
No worries.